A pleasant morning to everyone. In 5 minutes, we're going to start our webinar series. Again, in 5 minutes, we're going to start our webinar series. Thank you. A beautiful morning to everybody. Welcome you all to the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium, Manila Incorporated webinar series entitled Publication 101. This webinar series is made possible with our partners like the Asia Pacific Consortium of Educators, Researchers, and Educators, and the Philippine Normal University. So in response to the aim of the Commission on Higher Education Memo number 52 series of 2016, the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium Manila Incorporated served as the platform for research and development to innovate and extend the pursuit of social and economic development. And to know more about the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium Manila Incorporated, please watch this video.
University of the Philippines, Rizal Technological University, Philippine State College of Aeronautics, Elohio Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology, Marikina Polytechnic College, formed the PASUC NCR Research Consortium. In the 2014 conference organized by the consortium, several higher education institutions have shown interest in joining the consortium. The Executive Committee approved the expansion of the consortium membership to broaden and vitalize the promotion of research, bring forth excellent research undertakings, build strong research network among universities and institutions, and cultivate an environment of quality scholarship not only in the National Capital Region but also in the entire country. Thus, the PASUC NCR Research Consortium is now known as the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium.
So you have just watched the humble beginnings of the PHERC, or the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium. And the PHERC does not only provide you with different trainings, with different research conferences, it also provides a forum for dissemination of qualitative and quantitative researches on theory and instructional model building, product relevant policy studies, internationalization, as well as local responsiveness from different countries and culture. It also aims to bridge the gap between the theory and practice through the publication of empirical researches which are relevant and contributory to solving higher education problems. And that's the birth of what we call the Asia Pacific Higher Education Research Journal. And to know more about this, please watch this video.
Research Journal, the official referee journal of PASUC NCR Research Consortium.
This webinar workshop will not be possible without our partners in coming up with this webinar series. One of the strong partners of the PHERC, or the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium, is the Asia Pacific Consortium of Researchers and Educators. Watch this video for more about AppCore.
One of the
In 2013, a group of scholars and members of the academe decided to form a consortium with the primary goal of bringing together scholars in the Asia-Pacific countries to collaborate and establish a formal network and partnership in various research and academic-related programs. The organization was named the Asia-Pacific Consortium of Researchers and Educators Incorporated, or APCOR. A non-stock non-profit organization, APCOR promotes multidisciplinary research, educational innovations and initiatives, academic, art, and cultural exchanges to its members. It likewise facilitates network building, public discourse, national and international exchanges of knowledge and information. APCOR envisions to be a prime mover of research excellence in the Asia-Pacific region. It fosters multidisciplinary researches that adhere to the principle of professionalism, responsibility, accountability, transparency, and democracy. The consortium is managed by a group of dedicated and committed professionals with the supervision of the International Advisory Board from the Asia-Pacific countries. Regular activities and programs of the consortium includes research capability building trainings and workshops, International Multidisciplinary Research Conference, the APCOR Biennial Convention, international linkages, networking and partnership, research fellowship, academic exchange, and publications of APCOR Research Journal. Today, APCOR has more than 2,000 individual members and more than 100 institutional members from 16 countries, not only in the Asia-Pacific rim, but in other parts of the world as well. This is the Asia-Pacific Consortium of Researchers and Educators.
Thank you very much. The Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium believes that research and publications are crucial and essential growth and prospect in an academic career. They play a vital role in the educational and academic career of a researcher. And a well-conducted research increases the credibility of the researcher. It also increases the student's ability to integrate. Researchers will be able to provide different theoretical insights. For our today's webinar series, which is entitled Publications 101, gives you the different insights, top tips, and strategies on how we could publish our works. So to begin with our webinar series, let us all put ourselves in the presence of our Lord through a doxology, to be followed immediately by the singing of our Philippine national anthem.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures here below. Praise Him above the heavenly host. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Okay, a pleasant morning, a beautiful, beautiful morning to everybody. I hope you are well, safe at this time or at this midst of crisis. So we welcome you again to this Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium, Manila Incorporated webinar series. I'm your host for today, Jules Meneses from the Rizal Technological University. I will just have to give you some reminders in the smooth operations of our webinar. So please kindly mute your audio and disable the video when joining the Zoom and during the course of our seminar. And the forum will be locked for about 15 minutes after the forum begins, and latecomers will not be entertained. Audience can ask the question to the speaker by typing the question in Zoom chat room, and please indicate your name, your institution, or your affiliation. Moderator will share the question to the speaker in the Q&A question. Also, here are the different requirements for the issuance of our certificates. This e-certificate will be given to our pre-registered participants. And please do not forget to like and share the PHERC Facebook page at www.facebook.com/PHERC. Stay in the entire duration of the webinar and answer the post-evaluation of the webinar, wherein the link will be shown in our chat box. So to formally start our webinar series, Publication 101, here is the President of the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium for the welcome message. Please welcome Dr. Rasidon P. Bernarte.
Thank you very much, Dr. Meneses. To all our participants, to our research speaker, good morning. It is with my great pleasure to welcome you all to the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium webinar entitled Publication 101 with our multi-awarded researcher and educator as our resource speaker. This webinar is organized by the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium in partnership with the Asia Pacific Consortium of Researchers and Educators and the Philippine Normal University. PHERC, formerly known as PASOK NCR Research Consortium, which was established by 7 state universities in the National Capital Region, is a professional organization of academics and researchers that engages in collaborative, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and cross-disciplinary researches and activities. It has a mission to strengthen the research capacity of higher education institutions in the country and establish linkages and networks with educational institutions and to attain its goals of academic research, excellence, and social responsibility, both in the national and global context. It brings together academicians, researchers, and educational leaders across disciplinary interests to engage in research and development. PHERC supports the UNESCO World Declaration on Higher Education for 21st Century, which states that higher education institutions must advance, create, and disseminate knowledge through research and provide as part of its service to the community relevant expertise to assist societies in cultural, social, and economic development, promoting and developing scientific and technological research, as well as research in social science, the humanities, and creative arts. PHERC believes that research activities in higher education institutions are not limited to mere creation of knowledge. It is incumbent upon HEIs to ensure translating research-based knowledge into practical utilization and dissemination through publication and commercialization. Many researchers in the academe unfortunately gather dust in the library, failing to bridge the gap between generation and consumptions of research. There is now a growing interest in addressing this issue that many terminologies have been used to describe the process. Among these include knowledge transfer, knowledge diffusion, knowledge mobilization, and dissemination, among others. We should not forget that despite the new normal brought about by pandemic, our responsibility for creating knowledge should never stop. The situation we are facing right now should not deter us, but instead challenge and inspire us more to strengthen our efforts and approaches for more visible, dynamic, and action-oriented research culture in our institution. And part of which is bridging the gap in the research to practice continuum. We in PHERC are happy that many of you here are taking it seriously. The commitment to narrow the gap and with your interest to equip yourselves with the needed skills, approaches, and techniques in research publication. The primary goal of this webinar is not only to provide avenue for active research engagement, but more importantly, allow leveling up research dissemination and publication in high impact journals. Remember, the quest for knowledge has been from the beginning of time, but knowledge only becomes valuable when it is shared, disseminated, and applied to benefit humankind. It is envisaged that the discourse on this webinar will result in future collaboration among participants. Before I end, I would like to invite you to join the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium, and together let us promote research excellence in our country. On behalf of the executive officers and board of directors of the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium, I welcome you all to this webinar. Thank you. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bernarde, for that very informative and a warm welcome message. And to introduce our resource speaker for today's webinar series, may we call in the PHERC Board of Director, Dr. Sylvia C. Ambag.
Good morning, everyone. Our very dynamic and inspiring speaker is a full-fledged Professor 6 at Philippine Normal University, teaching advanced physics courses and other science-related courses. She is a department-based organization advisor, panelist to a proposal and final paper thesis defense of Master of Arts, major in physics students, and thesis advisor to graduate students. Since 2015 up to present, she is an editor-in-chief of the Normal Lights, editor-in-chief in the Asia Pacific Higher Education Research Journal, and Journal of Educational Human Resource Development. In 2013, she earned Doctor of Philosophy in Science Education, major in physics, and received outstanding dissertation at De La Salle University, Manila, in her paper titled Culture and Language Integration in Physics Education. She engages in different research grants, namely Education Science Teachers for All, an Erasmus Project European Union grant, research grants in technological pedagogical assessment of content knowledge or TPAC in STEAM education, SHED Grant and Aid Program from 2017 up to 2019, the Project La Mesa Research Grant in 2017, and Philippine Normal University researches funded from 2014 to 2016. Our speaker receives prestigious awards such as Achievement Awardee for the Division 1 Government and Educational International Policies, Academic Excellence from Department of Science and Technology in 2014, and the latest 2020 award for the 10 Outstanding Filipino Researchers Awardee given by the National Research Council of the Philippines, or NRCP. It's my honor and privilege to introduce our very dynamic Filipino scientist, researcher, and a very good leader. And Lodi, sabi nga nila, ang idol ng bayan, Dr. Marie Paz E. Morales.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Sylvia, for the very kind introduction. So I would like to greet my colleagues from the Philippine Normal University. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so for today, again, welcome to the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium Incorporated webinar. So this webinar is entitled Publication 101. And I am tasked here to present to you some basic concepts and principles on writing your manuscripts. Now, so for today, we'll be discussing some tips on how to probably convert our research into, or research reports into articles for publication. So Publication 101. I'm from the Philippine Normal University here in Manila. Okay, so before we start, can I ask you to please provide me with a word in your chat box corresponding your thoughts about publication? So for you, what does publication mean? Can I have about a minute for you to be able to write? Okay, to publish, article, hard. Science and art, to share, ang dami, to produce rigorous work, sharing, to bring, promotion, ay, promotion agad. Okay, scientific, to share public. Okay, review of research, publication, literature, knowledge dissemination, and so on, intelligent work, format, okay. So that's what publication means to each one of you. So let's move on. Usually, we wanted to take a look at probably some of the tips that will be discussed today, so that later on, when we are faced with these questions, we'll have chin up while we are answering our immediate superior. We have, kumusta naman kayo? Kumusta naman ang research mo? Probably, we can answer diligently that, maganda na po ang ginagawa ko sa aking research. Okay? Kumusta na ang thesis or research mo, publication mo? Okay? After some time or after this session, I hope that we'll be able to have a different way of looking at research, a different description of research, and probably discard this description of research. Research is restricted sleeping, eating, and resting chances here. Okay? I hope that sometime after this session, we'll be able to have a different kind or a different description of research. What we wanted is take a look at the researcher's life in a different perspective. So if you can see from some literature, I have sourced these figures or diagrams. You would notice how one spends the writing time while writing your thesis or papers. Most of us are probably thinking about writing, and that's occupying a large portion of the pie. Okay? For the time spent for a 10-page report, I could see, or you could probably see, a large part of it in red. Okay? Large part of it in red is using Facebook or flipping Facebook. Okay, and very small portion is allotted to the actual writing, which is blue. Okay, what we wanted is to increase these portions, the actual writing, so that later on we'll be able to reach this stage. This stage is the best stage so far when you are writing, when you are trying to write the acknowledgement section. Okay? Dito, magpapasalamat na kasi tayo, di ba? We're done with our paper, and so we thank everyone. We thank coffee, 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 because that's our companion while we were writing. Okay? Probably you thank your mom for making you a cup of coffee or 5 cups of coffee a day. Okay? So for today, our menu, I have chunked our discussion for today in 3 parts. We have pre-writing preparation, we have writing tips, and tips for more. Of course, I'll not be able to discuss very thoroughly each of the ways on how to write. It's because of the limited time. Probably PHERC will be able to come up with certain seminars on that later on. So for today, we'll try to take a look at the entirety of the cycle while when we try to write our manuscripts. So in my discussion, per part, I'll be ending with some pause, and I'll be asking some of you probably to lodge some questions on your chat boxes, and I can entertain about 2 to 3 questions before we advance to the next portion of my discussion. Okay, so for pre-writing preparation, now why do we need to write, and why do we need to publish, and why do we need to do research in the first place? Okay, we are actually in an era, we are looking forward to an era of Industrial Revolution 4.0. All of us are in the academe, okay? And since we are in the academe, more often than not, what we wanted is to be able to prepare our learners, our students, to become skilled professionals. Skilled professionals in a way that they'll be able to maneuver the workforce 4.0 or the new job market. And we can only do that when we bridge education 4.0 or we bridge our learners towards the workforce 4.0 through education 4.0. Through Education 4.0, we take a look at the learner as the center of our teaching and learning process. So we are very much familiar, of course, with the learner-centered paradigm, but here, the learner is the one that designs how he or she learns, what he or she should learn within the identified standard of probably the unit, the school, or the country, okay? So that's Education 4.0. We, in the academe, are supposedly tasked to design the learning environment for them. Okay, so we are designers. We take a look at things, we think about them, and we design for our learners. We wanted to give them the best learning experience they could have, so that later on they will be empowered and they will not be encountering some things like this. These are our Generation Z learners. What we wanted is for them to be able to have intelligent experiences and intelligent answers whenever we ask them questions. Okay, can I read some of the memes? For example, here, bro, do you know Newton's second law? By the way, my examples are in sciences because I'm from the science education. Okay, the answer of the student. I am a science student, bro, not a law student. Okay? We don't like students answering, giving us some kinds of answers. Another example, the teacher asks, why is your paper blank? Okay, the answer of the student, sometimes silence is the best answer. Okay, we don't like that. We wanted that our learners are empowered, they are capable of doing excellent jobs or excellent tasks, because we wanted to be part of to contribute to the Global Innovation Index 2020. Siyempre 2020 na, no? Tapos na yung 2019. But let me give you a data on 2019. Well, we would thank God because God created Cambodia. We're on the 54th rank. God created Cambodia and Brunei, then so we are so thankful about that. But we also thank God for creating Switzerland, Sweden, USA, Netherlands, United Kingdom, Finland, because they are our exemplars. They are our um, good examples. Okay, let's take a look at how innovative Filipinos are. How are we innovative? We are within the blue rank. Ayan. When we are in the blue rank, this means that we are one of the least innovative countries. Again, we have to thank God for creating Cambodia, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Nepal. Okay. So we wanted to be part of at least the orange, and later on to be part of those within the yellow bars. Okay. So that's why we wanted to take a look at research and publication in the realms of the academe, so that we can help our learners be able to contribute to the Global Innovation Index or to the improvement of our country as well. That means we wanted to take a look at the entire system in terms of quality education. As per UNESCO 2014, quality education means equipping people with skills, knowledge, and attitudes to become economically productive, develop sustainable livelihood, contribute to peaceful and dramatic societies, and enhance individual well-being as well. So that's in the context of research and in the context of where we are in the academe, what we wanted, those of you who are in the education, social sciences, humanities, probably we can take a look at research in two tracks. We can take a look at the educational practices. One is along the track of teaching and learning. You can do action research, what are the best pedagogy, what are the best assessment methods, etc. For what? For improved student learning. That's our target. Okay. Now, if let's say you don't like teaching and learning practices or venturing on teaching and learning practices, you can take a look at the other track. And so we can probably take a look at the educational policies. We apply for grants from CHED and from other granting agencies, and probably we can contribute to educational policies. But the main purpose, why we are doing research, is for improved student learning. But what about those in the basic sciences, engineering, technology, and all other fields? Okay, we can take a look at, or they can take a look at research in the aspect of public good, which means they are venturing into research either in the theoretical perspective or in the practical and applied perspective, so that they augment and complement what we have in the academe. Siguro sila yung, or they are the ones who are developing LMS, they are developing ways on how to make connectivity better, specifically in the new normal. Okay? So, both of us, all groups, saan kayong field, okay? We can probably take a look at research as very important, research and publication. So, let's take a look at some of the ideas presented by Boyd. Sorry for the typographical error. It's 1985. These are some of the things that I got from his um, manuscript. Okay, research for him is a high-hat word that scares a lot of people. It's a friendly, welcoming attitude towards change. Okay, so this means that when we have change, we take a look at it in a positive perspective. Yes, there are thousands of COVID victims, but probably it's a way for us to take a look at education in a new perspective. Going out to look for change instead of waiting for it to come, an effort to do things better. It's a tomorrow's mindset instead of yesterday's mind. Okay? So for me, research, when you say research, probably what I can share with you is that I take a look at research as a way of generating or creating new knowledge. Okay? But that knowledge has to be shared so that at least we don't do the same thing that others have done already. We can probably contribute to better and increased knowledge capital. And we have to sustain that cycle. So generate or create knowledge, share knowledge, and sustain the cycle. When you share knowledge, you can share it in different modes or in different media. You can have the social media. Okay, that's what happens when you are after you have done publishing. You can use the social media for popularizing your research. Okay, You can use publication as a means of disseminating your research. You can also use conferences. Okay? So for today, going back, these are the three parts of my discussion. Hindi pa wala ako nagdi-discuss, ano? Simula pa lang. Anyway, so pre-writing preparation. Under pre-writing preparation, we have self-check. These are the parts of my discussion. Let's take a look at self-check, me as a writer, and how to prepare ourselves. We do journal search, and then reading and resources, and then research literature. In most literature, researchers would admit and would claim that pre-writing preparation takes a lot of time in the entire writing process. It takes more than half of our time, actually. Okay, so self-check. Usually, what I do is I take a look at these items and then check whether or assess myself whether I'm ready to be able to complete one particular manuscript. Okay, so do I like routine? Yes, I do like routine. I usually wake up very early, and that's my writing time. I like incremental achievements. Well, when we are writing, we cannot do the writing portion for the uh, entire time. I mean, in the entire day. You just spend the whole day writing. It's very difficult. Okay, you cannot also do completing the entire task, the entire manuscript in one whole day or 1 week. In my case, in my experience, I usually spend about 3 weeks to more than a month to be able to complete one manuscript. Okay, so when I say I like incremental achievement, let's say I have prepared one paragraph for a day, that's enough for me. Okay, I can focus. In writing manuscripts, normally journals would require this number of words, so very limited number of words. So you as a writer should be able to distinguish between being mindful, maraming laman ng utak, maraming alam, you have so many things in mind, and being mindful, which means you know exactly what are the essentials that you should be including in your manuscript. Okay? So I can focus. I can accept criticisms positively. This is very important if you are if you wanted to do publication. Most of the times when we receive peer reviews, it's very difficult to describe how they usually provide you an idea that you have not thought of your manuscript a lot. I mean, you don't know a lot, okay? So more often than not, we experience that when we receive the peer reviews. So if you do not accept them positively, then it would be very difficult for you to move on and be able to have the revisions, okay? So I have good eyes for details. Even if you have a very good paper, if it's written in a way that it makes reading very difficult for the readers, then the possibility of being accepted is very low also. Okay, I have a good mind for big ideas. This is the usual thing that editors would be looking for. What is new, what is novel in your manuscript? Okay, and the most important thing, that's why I have colored it red, I have self-discipline and I am motivated. Okay, so if you lodge or if you identified 6:30 as your call time for writing, please do not snooze 4 times. Okay, you wake up and do the writing. If you cannot do that, you can buy probably this instrument. So you would wake up at 6:30. Okay, siguro gising na gising kayo dyan, ano? Okay, self-preparation. How do I prepare myself? For me, I need to find a me time for writing activities. I need to find a time specifically for writing and no other things being done during that time. So 1 to 2 hours within the day would be good. Okay, writing 2 to 3 statements within the day would be good. You like incremental achievements. Find a comfortable place for writing. Please make sure that it's away from the ref. So it has to have a social distancing from your refrigerators. Okay, so that you will not be tempted to eat and eat and eat. And when you eat, please have low carb, low sugar, and good diet. Low carb because high carbohydrates and high sugar would make you feel very sleepy, so you will not be able to write. Okay, have a good break or have good breaks during writing periods, and do some physical activities before writing, because most of the times, most literature, I mean, would claim that physical activities enhances brain activity. Okay? Now, me as a writer, within the research cycle, this is what we do. Okay? We start with the pre-award. You make your proposals, and then after developing your proposal, you submit your proposal, you have the grant, you conduct the research, and then you publish. And then what happens? You have to make an impact after the publication. So you have to share all the things that you have published through social media, when you are speaking in front of others, and so on. So that there will be impact. Sometimes we also make policy briefs, and we submit them to policymakers, so that at least decisions done by them are or maybe sourced from empirical research. Okay, and so the cycle goes on. But if you take a look at that, research is only part of your task being in the academe. In the academe, if you take a look at the slide on the left portion, you would notice 38% is usually allotted for research, 16% for writing papers, 10% for grant applications, 11% for general administration. So for those of you who have positions in your universities or schools, then that's about 11%. If you are a teacher, then that's about 11% of managing your classroom and all the activities related to teaching. And then 5% for data storage, okay? And then 20% for teaching. Of course, we have a lesser percentage for teaching as compared to the research, because what we usually do is what we did in the research is usually transferred to our, or is we inform teaching through what we did in the research. Okay, so that's me as a writer. Now, what else? Being me as a writer. Me as a writer can be categorized into 4. Now, it depends on who you are as a writer. Are you a driver? Are you a patchworker? Are you a grant planner? Or are you an architect? You being a driver, you start writing early in the process and you figure out what you want to say or write. And then you usually start anywhere and often without a plan. So that's who you are as a driver. If you're a patchworker, you work in sections at the beginning of the writing process, and then you try to link all those sections together. Okay? But if you're a grant planner, you read, you make notes, you take pictures and pictures essays on your head before you make a plan or write anything. But if you are an architect, you think about the structure, sometimes even before the content, and then you create a detailed plan or diagram early in the writing process. So you can choose who you are as a writer. And then from your choice of who you are as a writer, then we work on that. For example, in my case, I can probably identify myself as a grant planner and an architect. The reason why during the course of our discussion, you would see that each time that I write my paper, I do have a table or a matrix. Okay? So that's me being a grant planner and an architect. I read a lot before I start writing. I try to picture everything from the start until the end before I do the writing. Okay? So, kayo, ano ba kayo? Driver ba kayo? Architect, grant planner, or patchworker? Okay? Now, before I write, I usually do some search. I take a look at the journals first before I do the writing process. The usual thing is this will be eliminating some wasted time in terms of revisions. Why? For example, you have written a manuscript, which is about 8,000 words, and then you have chosen a journal after writing a manuscript, and the journal requires you to submit 6,000 words, then you will be having some time again to revise your paper from 8,000 to 6,000, and that's very difficult. Mas mahirap mag-trim kaysa sa magdagdag, di ba? Now, the thing is, you also have to take a look at some things, or you also have to consider some things when you are trying to do journal search. One, for those of you who are in SUCs, you have to take a look at PASOK Advisory number 52 series of 2019. This gives us all the database databases that CHED recognize and that CHED counts for NBC promotion. Okay, so ito po yun. Please take a screenshot so that at least you have an idea. Okay, and then when you do the search, you can probably take a look at this portion. You have focus and scope so that at least we would know if you are submitting a manuscript to the correct journal. Okay, publication frequency, how many times does the journal publish in a year? Sometimes they publish only once, or the journal publishes only once. And that would mean the chances of you being published is very low. Okay, compared to if the journal is publishing about 6 times in a year. Okay, the journal type, as I've mentioned, please check PHERC Advisory number 52. Yeah, is it CHED recognized, Scopus Index, ISI Index, or ASEAN Citation Index? And it's very important that after you have chosen your journal, please focus on the details of author guidelines, specifically number of words, format, template, and so on. Okay? Yeah, journal search. Where do we search? You can search probably from this site. Okay, it identifies whether it's a Scopus, ISI, etc. This will give you, Simago would give you something like this. So this is one of the journals that I have submitted so far, issues in educational research. Okay, it gives you also the quartile, so that's Q2 quartiles within this category. The lowest among the 4 is Q4, and the highest, which means journals there are very difficult. I mean, very difficult in terms of when you submit and getting published. Okay, it's Q1 there. You can also check the Scopus website. Okay, you can also check whether the journal that you have searched is among the list of the Scopus in this of Scopus. Okay, so after searching for your journal, okay, you are ready to write. But before writing, in my case, since I am, ano nga ba ako? Me as a writer, I am an architect, okay. Since I am like that, I need to do some readings first. So when I read, I need to search for manuscripts or journal articles for my literature. So what I do is, I mine articles and I do the database right away. The right away is that you will be getting rid of so much time being spent on completing the reference list after you are done writing the entire manuscript. So I mine articles, then I do database. Then I start reading. So when I read, I start by reading through skimming the entire paper. So when I skim the entire paper, the first thing that I read is the abstract. Okay, so I read the abstract because the abstract is usually denoted as the synopsis of the entire paper. Then I do vocabulary reading if I am sure that the paper that I am about to read is related to my paper. Then I do reading by comprehension, section by section. Then I do some reflections and criticisms. Okay? So when I mine articles, I use some database. Some are paid, some are not. So please check the status of this database on in your universities. Are they subscribers or of paid database like ProQuest, SpringerLink, Web of Science, EBSCOhost, Philippine eJournal, and MacroHill. On the other side, these are the free or open sources. Okay, there. Then, in this time that we have COVID, many of our databases are offering some free resources. So please check them and have you experience the advantage of being given free resources. Project Muse, Scribe, we have Cambridge Commons, EBSCO Faculty Select. Our portal, the Philippine Normal University Publication Office portal, is also offering all our journals in open access. So you can download and check our website. Okay? Check our website pala muna before you download. Okay, the publication office, our office at PNU, we also have a Facebook page where are maintaining a Q&A portion. So some of our followers are sending questions and we provide answers. We load them on our FB page. So probably you can check that later on. And please like. Thank you. Okay, so when we try to mine articles, we encounter a lot of sources. One of them is of course a journal article. And usually a typical journal structure would look like this one. This is the title page of a journal, typical journal article. Okay, I think one of the audience is one of my co-authors, Professor Hermosissima. Okay, we have published this in Issues in Educational Research. So what are the parts that you can see in a title page? Okay, we have the volume number, issue and publication. We have the journal name, page, title, authors, and affiliation. Of course, every journal would have its own structure in terms of title. So this one has a different kind of structure. This one also has a different kind of structure. Okay? There. So you can see here, this person is my mentee and I am the mentor. But then again, our policy in the university is that when we try to publish the paper of our mentee, then the arrangement would be he or she would be the first author and you as the mentor would be the second author. Okay? He is our corresponding author, the reason why he has this envelope. Okay? There. Now, let's have a Q&A. After the title page, you have the after the title page, which occurs first in the scientific journal. Can you please encode your answers on the chat box? Ang una po may prize, galing kay President. Ay, may nauna! Okay, so we have, ang gagaling namang sumagot, abstract. Okay, next, are you ready? Sige po, paunahan tayo. Okay, are you ready for the next question? Where can we read the rationale of the study? Okay? Okay, introduction, very good. Okay, next. Dahil pa sumasagot. Next question na po. Where can we find the description of the instruments used? Oh, okay. Ang bilis sumagot. Very good. Methodology or method section. Okay. Next. Where will we read the limitations of the study? More often than not, where will we read that? In the... Wala pa ako nakikitang sagot. We are talking about an article. So where can we find the limitations of the study? It's in the recommendation section more often than not. Okay? This is my last question. Which cannot be determined from a reference list citation? Is it the title of the journal, the title of the journal article, the number of pages in the journal, or the number of pages in the article? It's okay, number of pages in the journal. You can find the number of pages in the journal article as part of the reference list, and we usually term that as the page range. Okay, so that's number 3. Okay, can we advance? Yan pa, may sumagot pa. So doing database, you can do it online. You can also do it offline. So I have placed here some samples aside from those you are familiar with, like EndNote, Mendeley. Okay, you can also do it using MS Word. So that's for offline. Okay, so now we are ready to read. So when we read again, we start by skimming the entire paper. We take a look at the vocabulary, or we do vocabulary reading by comprehension, section by section, and then reflections and criticisms. When we try to read, we take a look at the abstract. For the abstract, please make sure that you can find the following. We have objectives and purpose, you have methods, you have products and results, or major findings, conclusions or results, or conclusions and recommendations. Note that that how we write an abstract is usually dictated by the journal requirement. Okay, so please check the journal format and the author guidelines for that. Okay, so as you can see here, I tried using highlight to distinguish the four. Okay, so this is what I would like you to do. Can you please check which one should be colored green? That's for the objectives. Check which one should be colored blue. That's for the methods, inclusive of the research design, methods, samples, and instruments, which would be yellow, okay, results and findings, and which would be violet, which represents the conclusions and recommendations. Okay. So this abstract was taken from one of the manuscripts that we have published. We published, this one is a publication with the Technological University of the Philippines. That's the La Mesa project. Okay. We cannot annotate. Yes. Sige, assignment po. Okay. So later on, probably you can check which one should be annotated as green, blue, yellow, and violet. Okay. So after that, kindly answer these questions also. What have I learned from the activity, and what insights did I get that I can use in research or writing tasks? Okay, using CP only, no problem. You can just take a screenshot and then do that later. Okay. Okay, so moving forward, this is how we usually check whether the article that we have mined can be or is related to our study. One, we take a look at the title. Okay, if the title is related, then we can probably check the abstract. If the abstract tells us that it's too related to our study, then we can probably start reading the entire paper. Okay, if not, then probably we can place that in one database and probably make use of that later on.
May mga lumalabas dito na gusto ko ma-off. Yung mga notification.
Okay, so let's go back to how we read. When you say vocabulary reading, what we do is, in most cases, articles are very difficult to read. It's because of the fact that they are replete with very difficult words. So when we read and then we are not familiar with the very difficult words, we stop and then we check the dictionary and look for the meaning of the word. And that would mean our focus is disrupted. So it would be best probably if you do vocabulary reading first, which means you try to skim the entire article, look for the very difficult words, and then look for the meaning, write the meaning on the side before reading the entire paper. Then you do reading by section or comprehension section by section. What you can do is, let's say, for example, you're writing your introduction. Okay, you are aiming to write your introduction. More often than not, we read the results, we read the introduction of the papers. We seldom read the methods when we are writing the introduction section. So that's reading by comprehension, section by section. And reflections and criticisms, I normally use annotations on the paper, how this paper relates to my study. Then later on, I can get these annotations and be part of my discussions. Okay, so that's how we usually read a literature. Okay, so I probably, this is the last portion or the last part of my first part. So I can probably entertain 2 questions. Any questions po? Bago tayo magtuloy. Okay, so ang nababasa ko po ay hindi questions, some comments. How do we organize the research gathered po? What do you mean? Do you mean the research data? Is the title temporary till you're done? I will answer that later on. Organizing the research data depends on your questions. So probably we can take a look at that later on when we discuss the writing tips. What else? What is the easiest way to do a database? Oh, the easiest way to do the database, first I try to come up with themes for my literature, and then from the themes, I cluster all the articles per theme, and then from the per theme, I do the reading. So I only focus on one theme so that it would not be very difficult for me to assimilate the ideas. Okay, another one, how can the teacher help the students identify their research? Nasaan na? Nawala. Their researcher identity. What does that mean? How can the teacher help the students identify their researcher identity? Do you mean researcher identity in terms of, probably we can have a follow-up question later on for that. Okay, can we download materials from PO portal for free? Yes po, for all the 3 journals. Okay, the last question. Is there an ideal number of related literature recommended for those who are writing their papers? It depends on the specialization. More often than not, in the field of education, we have a minimum of 30. Okay, for education. For, I think, engineering, it's within the bounds of 20 to 30. Okay, and we have a question related to that in our Facebook page, and we have identified all the specializations and the range of literature needed for each specialization. Okay, we'll check that. Probably you can check that later on. Okay, so moving forward, some writing tips. So when we write, let's take a look at first how a journal article is different from a research report from a technical report. Okay, a journal article would have the following parts, would normally have the following parts. This, on the other hand, the second one is the research report, and finally, the technical report. The technical report is usually written and designed, the parts are designed by the writers. So what I'm presenting you here is one example of a technical report which the editorial team has designed. Okay, so let's take a look at the comparison between a journal article and a research report. Which are the differences, or what can you identify as the differences of the two? Both have title pages, both have abstract. Acknowledgement for the research report is normally placed in the front portion, but usually for dissertation and thesis, you place them on the first few pages of your research report. And then you would say, I would like to heartfully thank with all my heart and my soul and my body, okay, this, and this, including my cat, for the inspiration during the writing process. We cannot do that in journal article writing. We have a very formal way of acknowledging people who have helped us in acknowledgement section for a journal. Okay, as another one, we have keywords. Okay, both have keywords, introduction, but then in the journal article, sometimes introduction encompasses the framework of the study and the purposes. So ibig sabihin, naka-clump lahat yon, ano? Introduction, isa lang. But not in the research report. You have segmented parts. You have literature review, a different part for statement of the problem. You also have the significance of the study, scope and limitation, and definition of terms. We don't have the definition of terms in as a section in the introduction of a journal article. What we do is we place parenthetical description. So we have a description and then we place them in parentheses if needed or as needed. Okay, for the methods, we have basically the same. For a research report and a journal article, more often than not, we do have the same results and discussion, conclusions and recommendations. For the reference list, we also have that, both. But for the acknowledgement, appendices, and supplemental data, I colored them blue because they are optional. in a journal article. Okay, I colored the cover letter as red because it's not part of the journal article, but it's a necessary or it's a requirement when we are writing a journal article for publication. The cover letter serves as our communication to the editor. This is a way to correspond to the editor, and this is a way for the authors to tell the editor any contributions to the journal they are intending to publish. Okay, so that's the difference. Those are the differences and similarities of the journal article, technical report, and a research report. Okay, moving forward, there are different types of journal articles being accepted by journals, and these are the different types. Of course, we're familiar with the research paper. Usually, this is the one that is accepted by our journals. So, by the journals, original research or empirical research. But they also accept letters. These are a short description of an important current findings. Okay, we have research notes. We have supplemental articles. These are large volume of tabular data for a current research. Okay, in one of the papers that we have written, my co-author is present, Professor Jovito Anito. In one of the articles we have written, it would require thousands of words if we include our voluminous data. So what we did was to have it in a cloud where the reviewers and the readers probably later on would refer to when they take a look at the voluminous data that we have. Okay, so that's supplemental articles. Review materials, so this includes systematic review, meta-analysis, and others. And miniature articles. So these are the different types of articles that are accepted by journals. Okay, I have read one question a while ago, and that's about IMRAD. IMRAD is not, probably it's not a structure for all fields. Okay, the parts are essential elements, so probably we can qualify IMRAD as essential elements of a paper. Okay, so we have the introduction because we wanted to answer the why. We have the methods because we wanted to answer the how. We have the results because we wanted to answer the what. And we have the discussion because we wanted to answer the so what. If you would notice on the left side, these are the skills being used by a researcher when doing these particular sections. So a while ago, somebody asked, is it necessary that we train our students to do the research through the IMRAD? Probably yes, because of the things that you develop or the skills that you develop in each part. So in introduction, you develop questioning technique, research skill, hypothesizing skill. In methods, it's experimentation. In results, it's analysis. In discussion, it's interpretation, comparison, and contemplation. Okay? So that's the IMRAD. Now, going back to our journal articles and the different types of journal articles, here I am presenting to you some of the basic structures of each one of them. So, of course, we have the complete structure for the research paper. For the letters, you only have the introduction, the main body, conclusion, and references. But the introduction would encompass the short description of your method. Research note would be including the main body, the data or the software, availability, consent, author contribution, competing interest, supplemental data. For supplementary articles, these are the inclusions, review articles, and miniature articles. Okay? So these are the stages. We are done with the planning. So we planned a while ago. Again, it takes a lot of time. So when you are planning, probably if you're an architect, then you set the framework for the entire document and you are able to craft your first draft. The first draft, in my case, when I'm writing the first draft, I focus on the concept and the content. I don't focus on the grammar and all the what do you call mechanics. Okay, I do that later on. So I have to complete first the entire content, the flow, the fluidity of thought, etc. Then after doing the first draft, I subject the first draft to a second draft, to a revision, and have the second draft. So here in the second draft, probably I have improved on the flow of ideas in the writing in the written manuscript. And then on the third, probably I have improved on the grammar and the mechanics. And on the fourth, I have improved on the aspects of templates, format, etc. Then I can submit. Okay, so that's the preparation, the entire preparation, writing process. Okay, now how do we write articles? When we write articles, of course, we start writing the title. We need to have a title, of course, that's a working title, because of the fact that it's a way of us being guided when we have a title. Usually I have a working title. The working title would be probably around 10 to 12 words. It has to be reflective of the problem and the main variables of the problem. It has to be free of value judgment. Please do not include the positive impact of, kasi dinesisyonan nyo na agad, ano? Judgmental kayo agad. Okay? Or the negative impact of. Okay. The final article may be designed after you have written the entire manuscript. Okay, so that's our article title. Here are some samples from my list, which I have published. Okay, some titles would be dynamic, so examining, yeah, tracing, but some others are passive, like participatory action research, transitions and transformations. Okay, but then the question a while ago was that do we change our title from the working down to the final title? Yes, of course, because the title is the one that carries the entire manuscript, which means the title should be speaking for the entire manuscript, which means also that if the title is not is not a representation of the entire manuscript, then it's not a good paper. So we have to go back and change our title, probably depending on how we have written our paper. So this is an example. This was my writing working title, heading towards transformational outcome-based education. So my focus here, supposedly I intend to focus on transformational OBE, okay, for a special physics education curriculum. But then when I was writing my paper, I was trying to collate all results and I was trying to do the discussion, conclusion. The focus was not transformational OBE, but by that time. I have seen the entire paper as focusing on some transitions and transformations from the original to the revised curriculum. That's the reason why I have revised the title from the working title to the accepted title. Okay, there. So after writing my title, I need to outline the entire paper. Okay, so when I outline the entire paper, I need to have the basic parts, the basic elements, I mean. The thoughts, the results and discussion, and the conclusions and recommendation. Now, this matrix may probably help you in identifying whether you are already done with a particular part. Okay, but let's take a look at them one by one and see whether we can still improve on what tips and what basic concepts can we get from when we write each of the main elements or each of the parts. Okay, abstract. We have, well, it depends on you. You can have an introductory statement or you can start right away with the major goal. Okay, so that's the major goal of the study. Some journals, again, the writing of the abstract is dependent on the journal requirement. Some journals would require you to section them per part. They have a labeled major goal and then what's your major goal, methods, and then what's your methods. They're sectioned like that. But some journals, like for example, the Normal Lights, which we are managing in the Philippine Normal University, we require a one-paragraph abstract where we have all the sections. The major goal of the study, the methods, inclusive of everything here, major findings, conclusions, and recommendations. Now, when we write the abstract, make sure that you are familiar with the word requirement. In Normal Lights, we are requiring only 150 words. Okay, so more than that, we have to return your paper. Okay, we cannot accept and do the processing. Okay, so that's for the abstract. For the introduction. Okay, we have, I have placed here for those people who are in the education, social sciences, and the likes. Probably we can craft our introduction using these three parts. The background of the study, you have to contextualize our study. What is the context of our study in the context of the global theme or the global perspective? How is it situated in terms of national focus? How is it, what will be our contribution to the local emphasis? Okay, so that's the background of the study. Now, since you have placed already the study context, then probably we can check which are or what articles are related to such what were done before by other researchers, and so that we can do away with copied papers or plagiarized papers. Okay, so we write our literature survey. The literature survey is probably good if it's written in thematic format. Okay, the themes would make a good storyline so that it would relate to the background of the study and later on relate to our frameworks and study rationale. So please make sure that your sources are a decade old, So in our case, since we are on the 2020th year, then probably that's 2010 until 2020 year range. Okay, and then we have synthesis. You can synthesize your literature survey. From the synthesis, what are the things that were not done by other researchers which you wanted to address? So probably that can serve as your research gap, okay? But some others would not be requiring a research gap from the synthesis. You can probably check the real context in the globe or in the global scenario, the real context in the national arena, and then probably derive the real research gap or the real gap which you wanted to address. And then discuss the significance of this study and why is there a need to conduct the research in the first place. So that's your introduction. Okay? In most cases, introductions are presented in funnel shape. That's in most cases. Okay? But sometimes you can start with a very direct, focused aspect of your study and then probably develop it using the global context, national context, and then move on. Okay? But this example that I'm going to present you is following the funnel shape. We only have 3 paragraphs here, and you would notice by area that we are following the funnel shape, global in terms of, you can see there UNESCO, ASEAN, and then you have Philippines, okay? So some other tips, in the entire paper, probably 2 to 3 pages will do for the introduction, inclusive of the literature review. We do not want a 15-page paper to have an introduction equivalent to 10 pages. Paano naman yung inyong mga methods pa at saka other parts, ba? So please do not, please remember that when you are writing, please make sure that you give proper, you have appropriate percentage of number of pages for each part. Okay, sub-level headings attract readers and concretizes the storyline. You can probably provide context to the readers. That's on the background. Check your citations. A decade old is best. More and recent literature. Okay. Form and style of writing, the introduction depends on the journal practices and traditions. So it would be best that if you have already searched your journal, check some samples, some sample articles of the intended journal, okay, as your benchmark. Then narrations and stories must be as clear as possible and with no gaps, okay? Since I am an architect, so I do these things. I mean, I do the matrices before I write. So probably this could help you in writing your introduction. First, identify all the big ideas for the background of the study. So that's in bullet form. And then what are the themes that you would want to make the storyline for the literature review? And then what will be the gap? That's real scenario gap from the background or from the synthesis of the literature review. And then project your rationale of the study, all in bullets, okay? You're not required to do them in paragraphs. You do the narrative after you're done with the matrix, okay? Another thing is introductions are probably written in different formats when we take a look at the different fields, okay? Mathematics and allied fields, I have encountered one. He or the author has written the introduction. The introduction includes the methods. Okay, so depende po ito no, sa kung ano yung specialization natin. For the social sciences, mga kabaro natin, we usually do the usual process. Okay, for the sciences, probably you can identify which are the basic parts. Okay, for engineering, I have encountered a lot of papers in the engineering field when I usually sit as panel in Tarlac State U. And what they do is the introduction part is almost basically the same as the social sciences. For the medical field, ganun din po naman. Now, can you please provide me some answers if you belong to different fields? What tense, okay, what tense do you use when you are writing the introduction in your field? Can you please use your chat boxes to provide me some answers? Present tense, okay. Present tense, probably you can identify what's your specialization or field. Present tense, okay. Present active math, okay. Present tense. Oh, so parang pare-pareho lang po tayo, ano, present tense din. Okay, what about organization of your introduction? Per field, please. Organization of your introduction. Do you also use the funnel shape? Or do you use a different kind or a different one? Please include your specialization. Funnel shape, soksai, okay, depends. Okay, yes, depends. Funnel, edu, more often than not, it's cars, model, okay. General to specific, engineering, it depends. Science funnel, okay. Okay, thank you very much. Now, for the citations, do you use citations in writing your introduction? Again, make sure to include your specialization when you write your answers. Health, yes. English, yes. Science, yes. ELT, yes. Okay, math, yes. Okay, thank you very much. Physics, yes. Technology, yes. Okay, so we really need citations. There. Thank you very much. Now, here, when you are writing your manuscript, it's best if you have good friends. So, kailangan marami kayong kaibigan, ano? Some of your good friends might be your critical friends. So, ask them, please rate my paper, my introduction. Here are some of the primary traits that your friend may identify whether it's good or not when he or she is reading your introduction. Okay? Let me take a screenshot. Introduction provides enough citation. Check ba? Tatlo lang ba ang citation? Okay. So, please have a critical friend. Okay? So, next, we have the purposes of the research or the statement of the problem in some journals. Okay? It would be best if you have identified a specific objective or specific questions in relation to your major goal. But if not, because you're only after a major goal, specifically if you are writing a qualitative study, then it would be all right. Okay? The specific objectives and the questions, and of course the major goal, usually directs the entire research process, the entire writing process. How we write the methods, how we write the results. The reason why it would be good if we can identify. Okay? Then we have the methods. For the methods, we have the following: research design, study context, participants, instruments, data collection, and data analysis. The sectioning is often seen in quantitative studies and mixed methods, but we normally don't see the sectioning if we are writing for qualitative studies. Okay, well, it depends on the writing of the qualitative study is dependent on how the researcher would like readers to read and understand what he or she did. Okay, so that's the research methods. or the methodology. In writing the methods, I normally do this one, especially if I'm writing a mixed method research. One, I identify the objective. For example, if I am going to write a paper for development of a work text in physics, then what I do first is place the objectives. Objective 1 is design the instructional design. Objective 2, develop the work text. Objective 3, evaluate or validate the work text. Okay, I have 3 objectives. Let's take a look at the first objective. Objective 1 is design, the instructional design. For all the 3 objectives, I only have one research design. That's the design and development research. Okay, you can make use of that. But I can probably have different sets of instruments when dealing with the different objectives. For the first one, my instruments would be syllabus probably, okay, interview guide probably for my colleagues when I interview them. That's for objective 1. For participants, I can probably have 10 colleagues for interview, okay, for data collection, that would be document analysis and interview. And for data analysis, I can do transcripts and coding probably, okay? So that's for objective 1, which means the entire thing, research design, instrument, participants, data collection, and analysis is dictated by the kind of objective that you have or your objective, okay? So I'll do the same thing for each of the 3 objectives so that when I write the narrative of the method section, it would be a complete narrative of the entire thing I did for the research, okay? I will be able to justify and give good narrative for designing, for developing, and for the validation, okay? Next, the results and discussion. So, going back, results and discussion, the first thing that we need to consider is that it should be presented coherently with the specific objectives of the study. The main thing is that when we are trying to write our papers, it would be best if you are very mindful of 2 things, coherence and unity, okay? Coherence means you take a look at the objectives, the methods would have to be addressing the objectives, the results have to be the product of the methods, okay? So going back to our objective number 1, which is to design the instructional design for the work text, and then my data collection is interview and document analysis, okay? My product should be an instructional design. So when I discuss that, part of my results would be themed as or sub-themed as instructional design, okay, for the work text in physics. And then I do the discussion. So how will I introduce that part? First, probably I can give an introductory statement on what an instructional design is. And then I probably provide a tabular or graphical presentation of data if I have. If none, then I can do the discussion, how I work on some insights on the findings kapag wala. Pag meron, then I can do the data trend first before I do the insights from the findings, which includes literature citation, and then provide some implications of the findings, okay? So, moving further, this is an example of the one I presented a while ago as the working title and the final title. These are the things that I place in the outline for my results. These are the things I place in the outline for my discussion, okay? This is my tabular data there. It's a qualitative study, so you can only find frequencies and percentages. Now let's take a look at I highlighted some parts because I wanted to see what are the data trends that I can derive from the table. It's not very good if we are just repeating in the narratives what we can see in the table. Tables are standalone, okay? So this is the corresponding discussion. You would notice there are no data from the data set, okay? There are no mention of the data or the numbers from the data set. I only highlighted parts which refer to data trends, insights, and implications, okay? I also use, when you are trying to provide discussions or trying to discuss your results, it would be best if you provide good explanation and evidences. So the reason why I presented here some of the verbatim responses of my participants, okay, and their names are pseudonyms, okay. This way of presenting the verbatim responses is dependent on the journal which you intend to submit. Some would accept the quoted remarks embedded inside the narratives, but some would require it like this. So again, it depends on the journal you intend to submit to. Okay. Now, when you want to provide graphical data, ano bang gusto ko? Graphical data or tables with all the data? Well, you can probably check this flowchart and identify whether it's really good if you are using or you're going to use a graph or graphical presentation or a tabular presentation. If you have a very little amount of data, it would not be good to use a table. Kunwari, no, correlation ng academic achievement and teaching methodology. Kunwari lang, dalawa lang yun, ano? And then you have two lines, one for title and then one for correlation. It's not good. Probably it would be better if you describe everything in the text, okay? But if you have a high data, well, it depends on your intention. If you wanted the readers to take a look at details, then do the table. But if you want the readers to take a look at the trends, then you do the graph. If you want both, then you do both, okay? So when you do graphical presentation of data, this depends on some factors like appropriateness of the design. For example, correlation, we don't use bar graph. We use scatter graph or scatter plot, okay? Standards provided by the journal, that's another factor to consider when you wanted to use tabular data and graphs, okay? And then, of course, artistic attribute of the author, okay? There. Next, when we are writing results, it should be clear and concise. Discussion should explore the significance of the results of the work, and you should not be repeating all the data. Tables and figures are embedded in text. Normally, if this is dependent on the journal. Some journals would require you to have a separate section for findings and then separate for discussion. Okay, more often than not in qualitative studies, we don't do this. Okay, a combined results and discussion section. Again, this is usually for the quantitative studies and mixed methods. There. Avoid extensive citation because you are not trying to do a literature review. If you are intending to write something about an empirical study, okay? Ayaw natin na magmukhang literature review ang ating results and discussions, and that you are just writing all the literature that you have collected, okay, instead of discussing your results. And then please follow the requirements of the journal in terms of citations and presentations of references, okay, or presentation of results, I mean. Okay, so that's for writing the results. So again, since I am an architect, I do this one before I write the narrative. So first, objective one, this design, the instructional design. Data collection is interview and the document analysis. What are my generated data and how will I present that? How will I interpret the data? What inferences can I have, and what are its implications to policies and practices? Okay, what literature citations can or are confirming all of these things, my interpretations, inferences, and implications, and what citations are negating. Okay, negating, so pwedeng affirming, confirming, pwedeng negation. Okay, so that's the writing, some tips on writing the results and discussion. Oh, malapit na tayo. Okay, the last section, we have the conclusions and recommendations. I find this way of presenting this section as very attractive to editors. First paragraph, you need to restate your main objectives. Why? The editor, the reader has been reading a lot of pages of your papers. Okay, might as well remind what are you intending to achieve in terms of objectives. Okay, and then if let's say just like what I'm doing a while ago, we have 3 objectives, okay? Per objective, probably you can use a paragraph to discuss the following. The summary of the objective of the findings for objective 1, and then provide also theoretical implications, okay? Provide also your insights and some concluding statement later on after you're done with all the three objectives, okay? For the fifth paragraph, we normally identify these are the findings. However, these are the things that were not done in my research. These are the limitations and the weaknesses. And me as a researcher can probably give you some insights on how you would replicate this and will be able to address these weaknesses. That's the reason why we have the fifth paragraph, okay? We have the limitations and how future researchers may address these limitations and weaknesses. And the last one would provide a future direction for your paper. So for example, when you were writing for the proficiency of STEAM educators and the development of the proficiency indicators for STEAM, what we envision in the as part of our sixth paragraph is we see something as indicators loaded in an AI system so that it would be easier for people to have an automated response. Okay, something like that. So that's for the conclusion and recommendations. Again, I do this one so that it would be easier for me. Again, it's because I am an architect. So things we do when we are writing is dependent on how we are as writers. So again, balikan natin kung anong klaseng writer tayo so that we can customize what we are supposed to do when we are writing our papers. Okay? So I write objectives, the data collection, the major findings, what are the implications and insights, and the conclusion. And then what are the recommendations, okay? Before I do the narrative. Last stop, we have the references. So the references is dictated by the journal that you have chosen. Is it using Harvard? Is it using Chicago? Or is it using APA? Make sure to follow the requirement of the journal, okay? So some other parts, how do we write some of the other parts? Some other parts are keywords. We have the acknowledgement, okay? Acknowledgement, usually 1 or 2 liners only. For the keywords, make sure that you choose words that are very easily thought of by researchers when they are trying to brainstorm for words that they need to encode in Google, okay, when they are trying to search something which is related to which are related to your studies. So for example, I have chosen laro ng lahi. So each time that a researcher encodes key in laro ng lahi in Google, then results would include my article, okay? Because I have identified it as one of my keywords. So it's something that indexes your paper to the World Wide Web, okay? Next, the cover letter. Again, as I've mentioned, the cover letter is something which provides a way of communication between you and the editor. It would be best if you provide the editor all the things or how do you term that? All the best about your paper, okay? So that at least you will be able to communicate your intentions in publishing to the journal. So probably you can check some of the parts. It would be good if you place your intention to submit in the journal that you have chosen. It would also be good if you have a mention of the major findings of your study that you wish the readers of the journal to know. And it would be best if you describe the major contributions of your submission to the journal, and also present some conflict of interest if there is or if there's none, okay? So that's a cover letter there. Because normally editors would not read your paper, not even the abstract, but he or she will read the cover letter. Please do not submit and then the cover letter would only state, please find attached. Oh, wag naman ganon, ano? Okay. Okay, So that's the cover letter. You're done already. So your paper would be lodged to the publication process. I have here two sets of figures, but they mean the same thing. Okay. We have the author. The author submits. Okay. This is a minimum of 30. Probably tell you, this is not good. That's reject. Or if you have met the requirements, then the editor would assign reviewers, would require the reviewers to provide comments. The reviewers provide comments, and then the editor collects all the comments and makes a decision whether it's an accept or it's a reject or it's a revise. Okay, so there are always three ways. It's the R, it's the A, or it's the M. Okay. Yung M, pwedeng minor, pwedeng major revision. Ayan. So that's the publication process. So in the publication process, probably it would be good if we know what these people are looking for in our papers. The editors would always be looking for thematic relevance. This is my journal. I am the editor. This is my journal. This is what I need. Okay? If you're submitting which is not related to my journal, then no relevance at all in terms of theme. It will be rejected. Okay? Significant contribution. Our journal has not yet seen something like this. So it would be good if we have an article for this. Ibig sabihin, kailangan talaga ng isang matinding big idea. Okay? Significant contribution. Originality. Okay? That would be identified by some similarity indices provided by online plagiarism detectors. Turnitin is one. For similarity indices, we normally accept as editors, we normally accept less than 10%. So if you have an access to Turnitin and other similar products, please lodge your papers before submitting. Mas maganda kung nakita ninyo na mababa yung kanyang similarity index before you submit. Use of literature. Somebody asked a while ago, how many citations would be required for this particular submission and so on. Okay, format and style. It would be best if you religiously and dedicatedly follow the template of the journal. Okay, usually if the editor looks at your paper and you have not followed the journal guidelines, it means that you cannot follow simple instructions. How much more for major revision, okay? So mas maganda, follow nyo agad para first impression, good impression, okay? For reviewer, there has to be clarity, technical quality, and organization. The reason why I was telling you a while ago, objective 1, data collection 1, results 1, conclusion 1. There has to be coherence and unity. There has to be an appropriate title and abstract, use of data. It's better if you are discussing the data trend, okay? And please refrain from discussing anything which is not related to the data trend. Okay. Sound conclusion and discussion and length of paper, there. And some other traits. Reputation of the author, okay? So build your reputation as an author. Contributions to theory and policies, and in uniqueness and technical content. So those are probably the things you have to consider when you are writing your papers, so that when your papers are evaluated, it would be a positive result or positive evaluation. Okay? So insights pa more. Again, I've mentioned unity. When you are discussing, after discussion, you have your conclusions and recommendation. Please close the loop. Dapat may closure. Okay? So go back to your global theme, to your national theme, and connect what have you as an article writer in that paper relate to the global context, the national focus that you have identified in the introduction. You have to close the loop. Okay? Coherence, support, again, clarity, use illustrations. Of, for example, you are telling or informing the readers that you have asked the participants to draw concept maps to be able to improve their cognitive ability. Okay, please, you can probably have a screenshot of the concept maps that they have and have them as illustrations or figures. They provide good examples. Okay, effective paragraphs. If you have already mentioned in the method section that you have done this, and this, then you should not be repeating that in the results, okay? You should not be repeating. Based on the interview I have did with 10 participants, you have mentioned that already. So what you can say is, results show that the interview does the word choice. Good grammar should be one of the things to consider. So that's the reason why you have to have good friends na mag-e-edit, okay? Or good apps, Grammarly or ETS, Turnitin, and then sentence length. For sentence length, the shorter would be better. Normally, when a person is reading, he or she uses most of the air while reading. So, pag nagbasa siya ng napakahaba, di ba, baka mamatay yan bago pa makahinga. Kailangan na chop-chop naman yung sentences nyo, no? Do not write one sentence, one paragraph, okay? Please refrain from doing that also. Tips for more. Again, when you are writing a paper, you have to have friends. You can consult. You can consult other webinars which are presented by international journals. Okay, they will be very helpful. Okay, you can also ask some. You can also consult some pages. Coming up po, ang publication office, we have a Q&A portion. You can probably check the answers that we provide. You can ask experts. You can ask Dr. Bernarte. You can ask Dr. Hasmin, Dr. All other doctors of our association, or you can ask Mampas. Okay, I have a page where I maintain. I place there some of the things that I am doing as an academician. Some other insights. Do not fear rejection. Rejection is normal. If you're not rejected, you're not normal. Okay, so that's okay. You can probably have 10 rejections in one submission. That would be fine. Papublish din yan. Just be patient. Okay, the thing is, you have to be humble. Okay, in each of the comment that you receive is an indicator that you need to learn more. So be humble. Okay, learn to strategize. How will you be able to attack? How will you be able to craft the entire manuscript? Okay, strategize. Be optimistic. Mapapublish din yan after 72 years. Yan. Okay? Be simple in writing. Again, do not clamp one sentence in a paragraph. Be mindful of the journal standards. Again, have good friends and try to collaborate and build your credibility as a researcher. Okay? Some other insights. No pressure. When you are writing, write it because you love writing. Do not take it as a job. It's very difficult to write if you don't love it. Okay? So you have to love writing. Chill lang. Kaya lang, lumayo-layo kayo sa ref. No? Do physical activity so that there will be no ouch, just like the figure I have presented here. Okay? There. No FB while you are writing. That's one of the best and helpful tips probably I can give you. Small steps lead to big goals. Okay? So, writing is a very difficult task. I have to admit that it's really a tedious task. But then writing is a celebration of a completed output. Tapos nyo na yung research nyo eh. So the writing process is a celebration of a completed output. So please remember that when you were trying to do the research itself is very difficult. So probably I can give you a short video for you to watch and reminisce what you have done in your research so that you will be motivated to write. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed the video. So this is my email address if you have questions, my FB page, and some sources probably that you can make use of. These are free sources, so probably you can check them so that you can have additional literature in your research. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that you have enjoyed our webinar for today. I'll be giving the floor to one of my colleagues, Dr. Ramsey, Sir Ramsey, for the Q&A. So probably we can accept some few questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Paz, for that very informative and comprehensive discussion of today's topic. And from planning, from writing, and publishing our research papers. And I believe that a lot of questions now are being prepared by our audience. And let me just remind our audience to please ask the question to the speaker by typing the question in Zoom chat room. And please do not forget to indicate your name and institution you're affiliated with, while our moderator will share the questions to the speaker in our Q&A session. So to help us give the questions to our speaker for today, may we now call in our moderator for the open forum. Please welcome Dr. Ramsey Ferrer, PHERC Board of Directors. Sir Ramsey?
Thank you so much, Dr. Jules. Can you hear me, Dr. Jules?
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. I just checked my audio. All right, so again, thank you, Dr. Morales, for that very informative, comprehensive, and insightful webinar. And while Dr. Morales was presenting, I took some of the questions which were posted in the Zoom group chat, and I took 3 of them because some of those questions were, I think, answered during the lecture. So the first question I chose is, what are your thoughts about self-citation? Is this ethical? Most especially if the cited reference being cited has significance in the paper being published.
Self-citation is accepted. Only that, please be moderate in citing yourself. Siyempre, ayaw nating buhat natin yung ating bangko, di ba? But self-citation is ethical. Yes.
All right, thank you. The one who gave the question actually did not identify himself or herself. So the next question is from, this is familiar, Terry Ann Joy Magpale from Wonkwang University. I think this is in South Korea. The question is, open access publishing is increasingly gaining popularity as funders, research institutions, scholars, and publishers are now seeking newer avenues to make publication accessible to all. What are the benefits and or challenges of this to the academic community?
The benefits would be more citation because it's an open access. Anyone can access, actually. The thing is, the challenge probably is for the university or the author. It's the author himself or herself providing for the fees for the public, for the open access publication. Open access publication is not free. You have to pay because what you're trying to do is you pay so that most of the readers or all of the readers will be able to have access. It's different from the other type, the closed publication, that we have. We don't pay for publication processing. Usually we don't pay for publication processing. But then when the reader finds your article, it's locked and it requires some fees, minimum of 1,800 to 3,000 per article. There.
All right, thank you. The next question is from Annalyn Inarda from the University of Rizal System.
Hi,
Is the
Annalyn.
school institution affiliation of the researcher a factor of having a greater chance for the paper to be published in high impact journals?
Um, well, I can have two answers for that. The honest answer and the very honest answer. Okay, so the honest answer is that um, normally it's blinded. So although the blinding is only for the referees or the reviewers, the editor would know, okay, from what university is the submission from. So that's honest. The editor has to be fair to all submissions. Okay. The very honest is that the editor also checks. Okay, also checks the university, specifically the author. Well-published authors, of course, would have better chances of winning. Parang ganon, ano? That's the very honest. That's a very honest answer.
All right, thank you. So those were the three questions I got from the Zoom group chat, and I think several questions have already been posted, and these questions were answered during the lecture. But in case that these questions were not answered during the lecture, as you perceive it, these questions can be emailed to Dr. Marie Paz because she already gave her email address. So I think that will be all. Thank you.
Yes, you can submit the questions to the publication office of the Philippine Normal University, and then we can post some answers.
Okay, thank you again, Sir Ramsey Ferrer and Dr. Morales, for that very informative seminar and discussion. We now come to an end. Before we end this seminar session or webinar series, may we call in the VP External of Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium in Manila Incorporated, Dr. Rodante G. Flores, the Vice President of PHERC, for the closing remarks. Sir Dante?
Thank you, Dr. Meneses. At this juncture, would like to express our gratitude to the Executive Committee of PHERC for spearheading this event and to APCOR for the co-sponsorship. Of course, our deepest appreciation to Dr. Maripaz Morales, for our resource speaker, for sharing her expertise on research, writing, and publication. PHERC and APCOR is grateful to all participants for your active involvement in the course of the webinar. We are hoping that today's lecture have somehow contributed in honing your research writing skills. We also look forward to your continued participation in future activities of PHERC and APCOR. Again, thank you so much for taking time out for joining us to this on this webinar, and hope to see you all soon. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Flores. At this juncture, we would like to acknowledge the different officers of the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium Manila Incorporated, Dr. Residon P. Bernarte, the President of PHERC from PUP, Dr. Maripaz Morales from PNU and VP Internal and Publication Committee, Dr. Rodante G. Flores of PHILSCA, VP Internal, Dr. Hasmin T. Ignacio from TUP, Secretary, yours truly from RTU, the Treasurer, Dr. Sylvia Ambag, Auditor, Mr. Ramsey Ferrer from PHILSCA, Public Information Officer, Dr. Grant B. Cornell from IRIS, Board Member, Dr. Leonila Crisostomo from RTU, Board Member, Dr. Luna Madera from MPC, Board Member, Ms. Maria Ara B. Santos, MPC, Board Member, Ms. Cherry C. Pebre from PUP, Board Member, and we also have Dr. Francisco D. Esponilla II from TUP, Board Member. That comprises the officers of the Philippine Higher Education Research Consortium, Manila Incorporated. And announcements, please like and share the PHERC Facebook page at www.facebook.com/PHERC and answer the post-evaluation of the webinar. The link of the post-evaluation can be found in the chat box, and it is open until 2 p.m. only. So try to answer it now so that you could get your e-certificates. Also, if you want to join PHERC, kindly click the URL https tinyurl.com/PHERC membership. The membership fee is 500 pesos only for 1 year. And e-certificate will be given to the new members for at least 5 working days. At the same time, we would like to invite everyone, for those who have their papers, please submit your research articles for our Asia Pacific Higher Education Research Journal, or a PHERC 5, Volume 2. For more info, please visit the pnuresearchportal.org/ejournal/index.php/apurge. And we also would like to invite you with some of our incoming webinars to be spearheaded by UpCore. This webinar series 3 entitled 10 Amazing Techniques in Writing Books with Dr. Mood Jailani bin Mood Noor, the chairman of the International Advisory Council of UpCore, which will be held on the 15th of July 2020 from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. This is a free registration for UpCore members only. So if you want to be an UpCore member, kindly like and share the page of UpCore. Also, we would also like to invite you with the SLUTC webinar series on education entitled Discourse Structure and Feature in Student-Led Discussion, Implications for Language Teaching and Learning in the New Normal. This will be held on July 8 at 2 o'clock to 3:30 p.m. via Google Meet. So please scan the QR code in order to register. The speaker there is no less than our board of director from PhilSCA, Mr. Ramsey Ferrer. So once again, please answer now the evaluation section of our webinar. Again, the URL is www.tinyurl.com/PHERCweb1. Again, this is your host, Jules Meneses from RTU, saying keep safe and mabuhay po tayong lahat. Sana po marami po kayong natutunan ngayong hapong ito at sana po ipagpatuloy po natin ang pagpapublish ng ating research articles. Maraming salamat pong muli. Bye everyone.
Kindly open the video for the photo op.
Okay, may we invite everyone to please open your videos for the photo opportunity. You might want to use this as part of your evidence. Yeah, evidence of attending our webinar. Technical, okay na po?
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Go. Next batch, please.
Next batch.
1, 2, 3. Next batch.
Just keep on smiling, please. We have 700 plus participants for this webinar.
Ready? 1, smile. 1, 2, 3. Next. 1, 2, 3. Next, please. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Next. 1. Look at the camera. 1, 2. Next. 1, 2, 3. Next. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Last 5. 1, 2, 3. Smile.
Thank you, everyone. See you again in our next webinar series. Good day and God bless. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Paz. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, everyone. And don't forget the post-evaluation link.